the thing is, you have to try though, right? How can you know if you like something or not if you don't try? We have so much pressure in our kids these days. Well, you have to choose your career and this is the only path. And come on, dude, like life is to be lived. Welcome to the Break Free Podcast. I am your host, David Mancilla. Today we have with us Stephen Monk, a very good friend of mine. He's running a company that is disrupting the world in the right way. And since I met him, I was amazed at his process, his business model, especially how he's actually democratizing uh, a service. I don't want to talk about what type of service it is, but a service that everybody needs in this modern society. Stephen, brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate being here. So thanks for giving me this chance.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. Stephen, where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I live in Whitby, Ontario. Actually, I live in Brooklyn, which is just the north end of Whitby. And it's a small town about an hour or so east of Toronto. And for a living, I run a business called CEO Law.
CEO Law. And that's the business that I was impressed with. Can you give us a little bit of background on that? What is CEO Law?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'll start with the CEO part. People often think that it means that we're focused on working with CEOs, which is true. And we work with lawyers as well. But the real meaning behind the CEO is it's an acronym for customer, employee, owner, because it's my belief that if you want to build a great business, you have to focus on those groups in that order. So first, you have to make sure you've got happy customers. And then to have happy customers, you need to have happy employees. And then owners come last. And so that's the kind of thing, it sounds intuitive, but I've worked in places where owners come first. And frankly, I believe that's the wrong way to do it. I believe if you want to have happy owners, make sure you have happy customers and happy employees. So that's what it's all about. And then CEO Law, like you said at the very beginning, it is a law firm and a technology company that is meant to disrupt the way things are done today and create something better.
Fantastic. How are you disrupting the industry?
Well, it's funny. I think when I talk about that CEO acronym, I would say that in the legal industry, the O's, the partners, are generally the people who are the happiest. Everything is built to kind of benefit them. Employees, and I worked in a large law firm myself, I say are tolerated, grudgingly tolerated. Which is not a great way to be. And the lower you are in the pecking order, the more grudgingly you're tolerated. And then customers, I think, get a really bad experience. You know, they don't get the respect they deserve. They don't get the attention they deserve, and they pay way too much money. And so we're disrupting things by turning what I would say is OEC into CEO. And the intention is to make sure, like I said, that people get a better experience.
That's beautiful. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I mean, I guess it's built on experience. So like I said, I worked in a big law firm myself down on Bay Street, one of the seven sisters. So there's 7 law firms in Canada that are said to be the best. And I worked in one of those. And so from that, I did learn that the experience of being a lawyer, at least for me and for many others, it's really unsatisfying. You know, it's just not a great life. And for lots of reasons, people leave that profession because they find it to be unsatisfying. And then I worked in business, and as a business operator, I had a chance to use lawyers. And again, I found it to be very unsatisfying. I found that they weren't really responsive to me. It cost way too much money. Things took too long. I didn't know what it was all about. And so I always say that when you have a bargain between 2 people and one person gets a good experience and one person gets a bad experience, that just means that it was a bad bargain. Someone struck a bad bargain. But when you have 2 parties in an equation and they're both unhappy, then there's room for disruption. Something is wrong with that. And so in the equation between customers and lawyers, I found that both sides are unhappy. So there's an opportunity there to disrupt things and make something better. Better for customers, better for lawyers. So that was the concept behind this.
What's the technology involvement in this? Because, well, I had the privilege of seeing your platform and I was amazed at what you guys built, especially because what you're talking about is everybody's everybody's experience. I mean, I'm blessed because my lawyer is one of the best persons I know, and he's amazing. But I'm the exception, and to get to that lawyer, it took me a long time, more than 10 years, right? So tell me, how are you using technology to disrupt the relationship between lawyer and customer?
Yeah, so we use technology to try and make the relationship more connected and responsive and transparent. So there are ways that you can create a better experience for the customers and for the lawyers. So if I start with something as simple as seeing the work product. So when customers work with lawyers, they often say, I don't know where the work is at. So in our platform, it's a two-sided marketplace that brings together the customer and the lawyers. In our platform, the customers can see the work product. So everything that's being worked on gets posted to the platform so they can see it. And that creates transparency. Or another great example would be the financial components of the relationship. So again, people will say all the time they work with the lawyer, they get a bill well after the work is done, and it's much, much higher than they ever anticipated. And it's a horrible experience that way. So with us, we make sure the customers get an invoice every week through the technology platform that keeps them in the loop. And then we also let them see right into our billing system so that they can see all of the time that's being billed in real time. So they've got perfect transparency that way. And then the platform does other things like let the customer and the lawyer set up meetings. When they share documents, there are notifications that a new document has been shared. Like I said, it's all about creating something that's more connected, more responsive, and more transparent.
That's wonderful. So basically, if I'm looking for a lawyer, I go to your platform and I can also, so I can find the professionals there and then I can engage in business with them. So it's also a business directory.
Yeah, that's totally right. So at its fullest extent, the platform will allow you to go through the entire process. And so the things that I mentioned are kind of for the customers that we have on the platform today. But if you came to the platform, yes, you can filter through lawyers and figure out who is the best one to help you based on their expertise, and then also other factors that will help you filter and find the best lawyer, like their availability to do your job, for example. So you can find a lawyer, then you can set up a call to speak with them, because that's really important. You have to tell them what you need and you have to hear back that they can help you. And then if you, after that call that you schedule through the platform, then you decide, I want to go ahead. This was a great lawyer for me. Then you can fill in the information we have to gather under the Law Society requirements. It generates an engagement letter that you sign online. When you sign the engagement letter, the lawyer gets notified by the platform that work can begin. Then work begins, and all of the things that I mentioned come into play, where you can see the work product, you can see the billing, and then you can, schedule follow-ups and things like that. So right from the very beginning to where work is beginning, all of the elements of the relationship can be managed through the platform.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. Now let's look back, because this just didn't happen out of a dream. I bet this was like a long-term cycle where you finally realize I have to disrupt this market. By the way, I think your market is endless. You started in Canada. I know the world needs this. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see you thrive in the next few years. Let's go back to high school. Where were you on your last year of high school? Because this is a very important transition in people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Kingston, which is a small town a few hours east of Toronto. And when I was in high school, I did very well in math and sciences and things like that. And so when I graduated high school, I went to the local university, Queen's University, and I studied engineering. And many of my friends did the same thing. And so, at that time, I kind of felt like, I guess I'm going to be an engineer.
And what happened then? Did you become an engineer?
I did become an engineer. I became an engineer, and I worked at a big company called Lockheed. So I got a great job, and I went to Ottawa, where I wanted to live. And so I was on that path. And then as I started working as an engineer, I realized that I did not like it. And I realized that other people were far better at engineering than I was ever going to be. And so, I decided, well, I'm going to have to do something else, because like I said, other people are far more interested and far better at this than I will ever be. So I decided I was going to become a lawyer. So I went to law school.
That's okay. That's a huge lesson for the listeners. Becoming an engineer is very hard. It's hard to get accepted. It's hard on the math, it's hard on the science. And you did it. And then you realize that it's not fulfilling. So instead of thinking about the investment that you did and having a mediocre life, you chose to go back to school and pursue another career. This is life changing. Just this alone is worth the entire episode, because we get stuck, right? Our investment, right? We get stuck in our investment. So we rather just hold to what we already invested instead of just letting go and reach for the next level. Which for you, it takes a lot. It took a lot of time and money, right? It's crazy.
Yes, for sure. Well, I think, David, people are afraid, right? People are afraid of the unknown. So, yes, I was in a career. I decided it was not for me. I decided it wasn't satisfying. Other people were better at it than I was ever going to be. And so, yeah, I left and I became a lawyer. And that wasn't the only change that I made, because I got a job at a great law firm. Like I said, I worked on, at this very well-regarded law firm. And I did that for a few years. And again, I decided this was not satisfying for me and was not what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So I left that again. And I went, I had an MBA as well. So I went and worked in business. And so this was my third career. First I was an engineer. I say failed engineer. Then I was a lawyer, and I say failed lawyer. And then I got into business, and I really liked it. I finally found something that I felt like was right for me.
You finally broke free. That's why this podcast is called Break Free, right? You finally broke free, right?
Yes.
The thing is, you have to try though, right? How can you know if you like something or not if you don't try? We have so much pressure in our kids these days. Well, you have to choose your career and this is the only path. And come on, dude, like life is to be lived. And through trial and error is that you actually overcome yourself and break free from your own self, right?
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think the pressures on young people today are greater than they've ever been. When I was a kid, I went to school, high school, until I was almost 19 years old. We had something called grade 13. And now kids are much younger. And yeah, there's this pressure to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And, I still don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I think that's what makes it most interesting, life, when you recognize that it's full of twists and turns, and that's okay.
And that's the secret, brother. Somebody asked me last week, what's the purpose of life? Because everybody's looking for their purpose. And my answer was, well, it really depends where in your life are at. Like your purpose keeps changing depending of the season of life you're in, right? So at the beginning, your purpose was to become an engineer, and you did it. Then it was to become a lawyer, and you did it. Then it was to become a business owner, and you did it. And you are the observer enough to realize that my purpose may change in a few years from now, and that's okay, right? Because we're not supposed to have a single life purpose. We're supposed to have a purpose in every stage of our life, right? Beautiful. What was the first business that you founded? So once you quit being a lawyer, what do you do?
Well, it's funny. So I worked in huge companies. So after I left being a lawyer, I worked in huge companies. So first I worked for a big telecommunications company. Uh, it was Sprint Canada, but I worked at the parent company called CallNet, and we did a huge acquisition. And it was at the time the largest acquisition of another telecommunications company that had ever been done in Canada. And, so that was one huge company. Then I worked at a company, I call it a startup, but we raised $40 million, and we got the market cap over 100 million. So I would say that's not a startup by today's terms, but I thought, it was a startup. And then I did that for a while. And then I left and I worked in a $4 billion publishing company and software company that was one of the three largest in the world. So I did all of that. And then I ended up changing my path and going and working in far smaller, more entrepreneurial ventures. So I worked in a company that was not kind of similar to what we're doing at CEO Law, and did that for a few years, and then decided that the technology piece was really important, and so left to start my own business there.
Beautiful. And it's amazing how life just, if you allow life to happen within you, like if you allow life to flow, the doors keep opening, right? The doors keep opening.
Yeah, for sure. It's part of the journey, right? Like we've been saying, twists and turns. And so, your life will will take you along a path, and you don't always know what that path is going to be. But yeah, doors open. When one direction of the path gets closed off, you'll find something else. And so, yeah, I think your point around things change over time, it's a really good one. And I think for young people, they should be prepared for that, and they should enjoy the journey, because it will be a great journey. Just let it unfold.
Go with the flow, brother. Go with the flow for sure. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self, chill out, dude. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
When I was 25, 30 years old, right?
Yes, exactly. I think that's exactly it. That as you get older, I think that's one of the things that you realize is that, yeah, you should relax. It's going to be okay. And then I think the other thing is that I remember hearing once that everybody's life has two vocations. So there's your professional vocation, and then there's your personal vocation. And I think often as you get older, you start to focus more on your personal vocation, which is about your family and your friends. And truly, I believe, as much as it's so important to have this professional life, I think the personal life becomes more and more important. And I probably think that as people are reflecting back on their lives, let's imagine you're on your deathbed. I probably think you're not thinking so much about your professional path. I think it's going to be more about your personal path, and that you'll probably conclude that the best parts of your life were all about the people that you lived it with and the relationships that you had.
Beautiful. Well, what has been one of the biggest problems in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I guess this goes back to what we were just talking about, the path and how the path can change. And so I think that the biggest lesson I've had and the biggest challenge has been that things are much harder than you think they're going to be. And so sometimes you'll have failures in your life. And that's okay. And when you have a failure, even one that means you're going to have to take up an entirely different path, it's okay. And then what you have to do to combat that is to work hard. And I really do think that that's the biggest thing, that as you confront failure and you think about what's going to be next, then the important thing is to get up and then move forward. And moving forward is always going to be about working hard, because I think often you believe that the next step's going to be an easy one and you figured it all out, and from here on it's going to be easy. It's been hard up till now, but going forward it's just going to be easy. And it's not. I truly believe that when you crawl through a lot of glass to get to where you are today, and you imagine that going forward it's going to be smooth, I say no. There's more glass ahead. You just don't know what it is, and it's okay. You just have to work through that.
And the thing is that you get stronger and stronger, right? And it's like people think life is linear, but it's really a wave. But the thing is that we can make the wave going upwards, right? Instead of making it downwards or just steady. But it's always a wave. There's always ups and downs. So I'm very aware of that. So when there is ups in my business, I run a software company. When we're in a beautiful time, I make sure I enjoy it, and I make sure I celebrate with my team. And when we're in a downturn, I make sure I remember that there is a wave that is going to go back up again, because we get caught up in the tunnel. And then we think that that tunnel is forever and we'll never get out of that tunnel. And it's not true either, right?
Yes, I totally agree. And I often think that although the good times are great and you can really enjoy that feeling of success, it's in the bad times that you really learn things. And so, I always think that when things are going more challenging than I thought they were going to be, that it's an education. It's another opportunity to learn. And that's where you can really think about what's happening and really try and learn something, so that you can avoid repeating that mistake the next time. And then, yeah, like you said, you start to rise upwards, because, yeah, you've learned, you've got the marks on your back. We say that the whip marks on your back that you will make you stronger the next time.
Wow, you just reminded me of this saying. Failure is not a failure if you learn from it. So either you win or you learn. Now, if you don't learn from it, the failure will keep repeating itself until you actually learn the lesson, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, for
great.
sure. For sure. For sure. And, like we said at the beginning, there will be failures in your life, but it's okay. Relax, learn, and it's all going to be okay.
How have you handled your life, your work and life? For me, it was very hard to balance. At some point, I became a workaholic, and then I realized that I was losing my family, and then I'm finally now into the flow of life where I have time for everybody. How do you address that in your life, having done so much in your life, by the way?
Well, I think it goes back to what I was saying about these two vocations, the professional vocation and the personal vocation, that you have to try and balance these two things out. And it's interesting, when I was working at this big law firm and I had worked really hard to get there, my wife actually immigrated to Canada. And so she came to Canada and she saw how I was working, and I was working around the clock. So the place I worked at, I had an assistant from 8 until 5 every day. And then I had another assistant from 5 until midnight every day. And then they had a roving bank of assistants that went from midnight until 8. And so they called it their continuous work day. And so you kind of realize, well, hold on, if I've got a continuous work day, then I must have a continuous work week and a continuous work life. And like, when do I get to go home? And so that's how it kind of operated. And so my wife would see me come home, and I'd sleep for an hour or two and then get up and go back to work. And she just said, this is a miserable existence you're having. You have to quit that job. And I was shocked at the time, because I kind of thought, what are you talking about? Like, I worked incredibly hard to get this job. But that was a lesson around, no. Like, you're miserable, so go and do something else. And I think that was, for me, like a great lesson around finding that balance and finding something that brings you joy, and then also finding something that will allow you to have not just a professional path, but a personal path too. And so that's really helped me, I think, to realize that you can't put all of your energy into just one thing along those, two main buckets. You have to do both. And so, if you want to have a good life, then I would say, like I said, it's about relationships. It's about, trying to be a good person. And I think being a good person doesn't mean that you're solely successful in business. It should mean that you're, a good father and a good husband and a good man. And those are going to be things that develop outside of your job.
It's beautiful. Having that balance is so important. When you realize that it's useless to be wealthy if you don't have time or health to enjoy your wealth. Why will you want money if you don't have the time to enjoy it, or the physical health to actually do things fun with it, or spend it with your loved ones?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, when I talk to my kids, I say, the three most important things in life, or really there's only two, but the first is good health, because you need to have good health to be able to enjoy your life. The second is good relationships. And so once you're healthy, now you can have these great relationships. And then money. I don't say that money is a bad thing. Say, no, money is a good thing. It will help you to have more experiences with the people that you love and the people that you're close to. And so it's not that I think, money is bad, but I also don't think it's the only measure of your happiness. There's lots of happy people out there because they have good health and good relationships, and they may not have a lot of money. But I think, you start with those first two, and then all things being equal, I think, yeah, money's a good thing, because like you said, it can allow you to have some good experiences, eat good food, go see the world, that kind of thing.
Especially when you know that your time is limited, right? If you realize that you're not here forever, especially I'm talking to like the 35-year-old crowd, like 25-year-old crowd. When we are younger, we think, oh, we're forever. No, man, like everything that you made is going to belong to somebody else as soon as you die. The only thing that you take with you is what you become, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, David, this takes us back to the beginning when we were saying, enjoy the journey. What would you say to your younger self? Yeah, enjoy the journey, because you've got this one opportunity to live your life. And so, enjoy it along the way. Don't spend all of your time worrying about where you're going and, when are you going to get there and all of that stuff. Just enjoy the journey for sure, because this is your life.
And be flexible and be willing to change careers in a snap if you're not happy, like you.
Yeah, for sure.
Brother, thank you so much for your time. I don't want to abuse it. I'm going to ask you one last question. If you had a billboard in the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
Well, that's interesting. I guess I'd go back to what I said before, David. I would say, enjoy the journey. It would be perfect for a highway because people would be in their cars, but it would have a greater message around, you've got this one life, enjoy the journey. And behind that would be all of the things that, people would say around be good to people, try and find peace. Try and avoid fighting with people. Enjoy the journey.
That's wonderful, especially coming from a lawyer. Where can people find you if they want to find out about your platform, your business?
Yeah, for sure. So if you search up CEO Law, I'm easy to find there. My email address is steve@ceolawcanada.com. My phone number is 416-712-STEVE, STEV. So, I'm out there, and yeah, I'm always happy to talk to anyone. If there are young entrepreneurs out there and they'd like to talk to somebody to hear more about, what kind of pitfalls, what kind of challenges are there, and even just to see if I can help in any way, I'm always happy to help. I have a big network, not as big as yours, David, but I've got, I know lots of people, and I'm always happy to help. And I mean that.
Wonderful. Steve, brother, thank you for your time. Thank you for your life. You're an example of what we should strive for in life. My blessings to you, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Okay. Thank you back, David. Really appreciate the time.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmansilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.